I love the view up here. What's this? Shit, not again. This VCR was shipped in well, rough shape. The owner of it, or someone, had tried to change the blue gear. It's a Sony VHS machine. Tried to change the blue gear, and it wasn't working. It arrives here, and there's multiple things wrong with it. We have a problem with the Capstan motor, for one. We have a problem with the pinch roller, for two. And for three, we have a mechanical alignment problem because they didn't follow the procedure. Here I have an SLVR1000. This was shipped in. The fellow that owns it apparently tried to do his own blue gear replacement. I think that's the one I'm thinking of here, because I've had a few inquiries, and he said it doesn't work after doing that. So before I even plug this unit in, I'm going to pop the top off it, and we'll give it a quick visual inspection and make sure something obvious hasn't been done wrong, because if someone tried to change parts themselves, there's a good chance that it was put back together incorrectly. So first things first, mechanical inspection. Now, I'm not saying that people can't repair their own equipment. Obviously people can, but these being a complex machine, sometimes steps can get missed or certain things. Even though I try to show, when I do these demos, I try to show everything that is important, sometimes things just get overlooked. So I'm hoping that it's something that's been overlooked on here, and we can get this thing going relatively. And this one has been into, because the screws aren't in straight, some of them are crooked. So this is definitely a machine that's been into. Sorry about the noise. It's a little cooler out today, so I've got the heat running for a few minutes here. We'll be shutting it off momentarily, I'm sure. There is the machine. Let's get a close look at the mechanism. I already see that there's alignment problems here because the holes aren't lining up. So we'll pull the mechanism and give it a mechanical alignment and see whether that fixes this one. So first things first, I'll undo the, well, I gotta pull the chassis out, but I'll undo the clips here. Unplug, there we go. Undo that, undo this, and pop the chassis out. Pull the front panel off. Gotta pull the basket first before I can pull the mechanism. Once the cassette housing is removed, we remove the retainer screws on the left, right here, and on the front. They hold in place two little metal clamps that hold the mechanism down. Then unplug the erase head and the audio control head from the chassis, and then the chassis will just lift out so we can service the mechanical parts on the chassis. Oh, there's no pinch roller on this one either. Look at this, the pinch roller is missing. Where is the pinch roller? What else is going to be wrong with this thing? Are the heads going to be shot? Look at the condition of the heads. It's all got fingerprints all over it. Holy crap, I hope the heads aren't damaged. I guess I should give this thing an even bigger inspection before I get too far into this. Make sure there's no heads that are snapped off. But anyway, oh, and the spring's been... Get a load of this. The grounding spring has been bent out of position. If we look at the back here, you'll see that there's a big gap between the grounding spring, the electrode. That's to discharge any static buildup. That's easy to fix that. I'm just concerned that there's no damage to the video head before I invest a bunch of time and effort into this. Even though VCRs are pretty effortless for me, I could fix these things in my sleep. That head looks to be okay there. I don't see any damage there. That one there is intact. That one's intact, and there's a, that looks like two heads there. Yeah, looks like they're there. Okay, the heads look to be okay at that point. This might be in sadder shape than I first thought. Okay, well first I'll pull the circuit board off so that I can inspect everything. What has happened to this wire over here? Okay, there we go. Plug that. That is seizing up. Is it just this is too tight? That's not supposed to make that noise. We'll start over here on this. Just take this whole thing apart. Oh. Oh, listen to the Capstan motor. Listen to this. That's not supposed to do that. Bearing cap is probably coming apart on this one too. Is the top coming up? I bet it is. Yeah, the top. See this? Here, look at this. Check this out. This is more problems that these things have. Watch the bearing cap. When I push on it. It's not supposed to move like that. That's supposed to be glued down. Or crimped down. We'll have to deal with that too. More things to deal with on this. Okay, we'll pull the capstan shaft apart because I have to address that issue with the where's the other seal for this? It must be at the bottom here. Just pop this through and drop out the little plastic piece wherever it went. Either that or there's one of the little plastic washers is missing. It looks like one of the little plastic washers is missing. Okay, well, what else am I going to find wrong with this? First things first, we'll try to fix this up by just kind of re-crimping the bearing cap, the top here, try to crimp that back down just to hold it in place, and I'll put some epoxy on it as well. We have to put a new pinch roller on here. Good thing I've got them. Okay, now I'm going to put some epoxy on the top here just to keep that in place. Try to bend that over just a little bit more if I can. We can find something to hammer in there to kind of bend over a few more notches. So I just want to key this over a bit more because that's what they did initially. Is they just squeezed it with a press, right? And, well, it has bent. Okay. So that should hold that. I'm going to put some glue in there to try to hold that piece in place. And then we will continue with the rest of this mechanism. This is cold weld I'm using. It's the same stuff as JB Weld. It's just it's cheaper because with JB Weld you're paying for the name, but it's the same stuff. It's a two-part epoxy with metal filings in it, and tends to work pretty good for this type of repair. Just mix this together. When you mix the two parts together, a chemical reaction is created which makes this stuff basically turn into like steel. We'll just fill the top of this with epoxy that will hopefully keep this from ever moving again. It shouldn't move again. Not filled with epoxy, it shouldn't. In fact, if you look at some of the later model units that had replacement bearings put in, they actually filled it with epoxy at the factory. So this is a known issue that happened. That and the bending ones. This is not one of the type that supposedly bends, but the ones that had the copper top were the ones that were bendable. I think I've even got one here for a demonstration. Let's see if I can find it. Is this the old or new type? Yeah, this is the old type. So this is the old type of bearing. This is made out of copper, and it's quite, even though it doesn't flex, well, this was too thin. This bends. It actually will bow this way from the pressure of the pinch roller pushing up against it. This will actually bend. So they made this part out of heavier gauge aluminum cast to stop it from bending. That's the old style from like an SLVR1000. This one here had a silver top, which doesn't bend to the same degree, but what happens is the little crimps up here work their way loose, being probably because the aluminum itself is a little thinner and lighter than copper, and it tends to bend. And then the weight of the force exerted from the magnet, because there's a magnet here that's being pulled towards this steel plate, the force of the magnet forces that up. And that's what goes wrong on a lot of these capstan bearing tops for Sony. There's the pinch roller. It fell out. Well, I guess we can put that back on. So we'll pull the pinch arm assembly out to start. Remove that. I'm going to hold the gear in place and put the pinch roller back on and push the base on. Is it cracked? Nope, it doesn't appear to be cracked. So why did that come apart? This might be cracked. What sometimes happens is this plastic cracks. Oh yes, it is. You can see it right there. This is why this has fallen off. See the crack? So while my epoxy is not fully set up, we'll glue this on as well. I guess it would make changing the pinch roller at some point a little more difficult, but I don't think these machines will be in use by the time the pinch roller wears out, and even if it does, where are you going to find a new pinch roller for one of these things? Answer, you're not. So, not too worried about that, but I want to make sure that it doesn't come apart while it's in operation. So we'll just glue that in place. And it looks like someone tried to glue it before because it had like a red colored glue on there. So maybe someone used Loctite or something and it came apart. So I'll use epoxy this time. That should make it a little bit more resistant to failure. The alignment is off on here, big time. So we'll just put this, I'm just going to put this on right now just to hold the gear in place while I time the mechanism from below. And then we'll deal with the top side timing. And then put the pinch roller back on. I'll let this all set up here for a while. Make sure everything's going to get dry before I reassemble everything. Alright, I'll pull the cam gear off the bottom because I need to check the timing. Pop that out. Okay, let's check the timing of the gears over here. There's a little mark here, and there should be a little hole on the mode switch. I keep putting this light there so that I can see what I'm doing, and I forget that sometimes it's in front of the camera, but that's off. So that goes like that position. We have to time this mode switch and get this in the correct position as well. Do I dare open it up and see what condition it's in? Probably wouldn't hurt. Like why won't the mode switch even release? Like what the hell? Like it won't even pop off. What the? Like it's stuck on here. How does that happen? Well, I'm just holding this mode switch up. It should just lift right off of this, and it's not. Like what the? Oh, you know why? Because it only lifts off in one position, and it's in the wrong position. Great. I guess that means I got to take this gear off as well, so I can lift the mode switch out. Wonderful. Mode switch sits like that. There's a little hole right there, a little notch right there. This arrow needs to point to the corner right here, and then you'll see over front on this side there's a little hole that points at the gear, at the little pointer on this other gear. So let's set the timing of this. So we'll move this one into its correct position, which is right there, There are holes that go through the chassis that I can look straight down and see through there. There's another hole here that I can see through, and another hole down here that I can see through. So this goes on like this. Like that. That one sits on just like that cam gear. And I can put the cut washer back on for that one, wherever I did with it. So that one goes on like that. That holds that one in place. This mode switch, I'm curious to see how bad this is. It's obviously somebody was into this. I don't know, maybe the guy bought it used and someone else had been effing around with it. But doesn't look to be too bad as far as dirt goes, but we'll clean it while it's apart. Might as well. I've got it apart now. Give this a shot of neutral. Give it a bit of a spin here to polish up the contacts. Now my hands smell like diesel, as that's the active ingredient in neutral, believe it or not, or one of them. All right, now remember I said the timing marks. So on here you've got a timing mark right there, and that's going to point at the hole that's in the mode switch. Mode switch drops down. You can see the hole right there, and it's going to move this over so that it'll lock into place. Now it's timed. You know, I keep getting these phone calls to my business line, and it's starting to piss me off. It's Google, usually. Hi, sir. We noticed that you're eligible for business listing. It's a free business listing from Google. Okay, I'm not interested. Oh, but we can list your business for free. Well, no, you're not listing my business for free because there's a $300 setup fee or $400 setup fee or whatever it was. So it's not free. Oh, but that's a one-time charge. Well, not interested. You know, well, we can help you achieve more business. Well, the thing is, I don't need to achieve more business because I'm already busy enough. I don't need to advertise with you guys because I've already got more than enough work. I have to turn work away. I'm so busy. So why would I need to pay you guys? So stop phoning me. And I get that phone call almost every day. Like almost every day they phone. Like, hello, are you people dense? I've told you I'm not interested. Stop freaking phoning me. I don't need to advertise on Google because I've got enough work here to keep me busy. I don't need any more work. I have to turn work away because I get so bloody busy with it. And it's not so much just repair stuff. It's video archiving work that I do. I'm weeks behind on everything. I'm weeks behind on repair. This one just happened to come in, right? I try to get these faster ones done and get them out of here on the days I'm in the shop. But as far as archiving video and so forth, like I've got a backlog, and it's all local. It's not people shipping stuff in. This is local stuff that comes in from from local clients, and I got enough work to keep me busy every day, so I don't need to advertise. And yet, they don't seem to get it when I say not interested. The calls just keep coming in every single day. Just gonna check this gear and make sure there's no teeth missing, because teeth missing were a common fault on some of these machines. I think that gear feels to be okay. I don't see any broken teeth. Close-up look at this with the camera. And then I got another guy that phones me 5 times a day because I went over and helped him set up his stereo. And I should have said no, because he's phoning me. He phones me every day. Oh, my back speakers sound a little bit too loud. Can you come over and turn them down a bit? Oh, my center channel not loud enough. I can't hear the dialogue, and if I turn it up, my back speakers are too loud, or my subwoofer's too loud. Can you come over and turn it down? This guy was referred to me from another shop. I have a sneaking suspicion I know why they referred him to me, because he was phoning them constantly and driving them crazy. So now he phones me and drives me crazy, so I just send him to my answering machine. I say that because in the time from the time my phone rang 5 minutes ago with Google on the phone, this guy called me. Geez, I don't know if that's going to be, that might be damaged. I'm hoping it's not, but that tooth might be damaged, and that might explain why this was out of alignment, the timing. I may have to try to find another cam gear, which I might have one. But that cam gear there, look at that. That looks like that tooth is damaged, doesn't it? The tooth looks to be kind of... So, I don't know. I kind of looked at this closely, and I ran my screwdriver through there just to see if it was damaged. It might be okay. It might be okay, this one. It looks like this tooth might be a bit bent, but it may be okay to work with. I might have one of these gears, but I'd like to try not to tip into the last few ones I've got remaining of it. If it's not seriously broken, and it's not gonna be a problem. I don't see any damage to this the main slide here, and right, that was the guy did call me. I should play his message for you. This is the type of thing that you got to deal with people. This is a message he left me. He phoned me last night when I was at work, and I didn't hang up on him. My cell phone dropped, but my phone cut out. So he left me a message today because I don't want to talk.
Colin, I spoke to you last night briefly. You were working, and this job has to get finished because we don't have a proper surround. Basically, the sound is way off. So we're going to finish the job. And that is something, obviously, I think I articulated last night. I kind of got the feeling you hung up on me. I mean, if you're at work, I'm sorry, but all you had to say is you're at work, can I call you back or something? That would have been completely fine. So, nevertheless, give me a call when you get an opportunity, and I'll look forward to hearing from you. Probably take 10 minutes to wrap this up, maybe 15, whatever it is. Look forward to it, getting it done because it's way off. Thank you.
So the guy, I mean, everyone has their own perception of how they feel surround sound should sound. Every situation should be slightly different. So that's why they have settings on your receiver so that you can adjust your back speakers, your front speakers, etc. And but this guy won't go into his settings. He wants somebody else to do it for him. And someone gave him my number. I did some work for him a while back. I did some archiving work for him a while back. And anyway, he calls me up wanting me to set this thing up, which I went up there and basically corrected his inputs because he got a new TV and couldn't figure out how to do it. And didn't touch his surround settings. I left the surround settings the way they were, but apparently they're not right now. So I guess I'll have to go and deal with him later. Alright, let's put this gear back in place. You line up all the holes. So there's holes here, here, and over here. These are to line up the mechanism. Pull that one back like that. Drop the cam gear on. And we will see the 3 cams through these holes in the gear. And we'll see the hole directly below that. So that I do that, and the cam drops into place. That's how the cam gear gets aligned on one of these machines. Really, they're quite simple to set up. And then the top piece goes on to hold it in place. Doesn't feel like that's dropped in all the way. There we go. Okay. Still doesn't feel like it's in all the way. That's because it's not. It moved. There. That's incorrect. I'll hold everything down while I put this plate back on. Get the cut washers in place to hold it in the correct timing. Okay, that part's done. Let's go to the other side. Now we can check the timing. Oh look, our timing is correct now. That was the right place, and looks like these two are also lined up. Because when I moved the main cam, of course, it brought these back into their proper timing position because that mode switch was off. If we look at the timing of these two, that was off too. There's a notch on here that lines up with this right there. And this one's got a hole, you can see through it. You can see through a hole here. So there's a hole here that you can see through, a hole here that you can see through, and one there that shows you that that's in time. As is, there's another one here. So just go through it with a screwdriver. There's a hole through that gear. You can see it. And it drops straight down. There's a hole here. There's a hole in the chassis there for that one. And there's a hole in the chassis below here. Directly below there, you can see the screwdriver going through that hole. So that shows that these gears are all in the correct position. And then this cam gear goes on, and it has a marking on the side of it that lines up with this other one. So that is now in the correct position. And then the pinch roller just goes on like that. And that lubricant seems to be gummed up, so we'll replace that. I'm just going to clean that off, and we'll put some Molly coat on there. I guess when I run out, I'll have to try something else. But we'll put a bit of this in here. Don't need much. As I say, you don't need much of this stuff, just a little bit. Other points of failures on these machines is the take up and supply optical sensors. They sometimes go bad. But that was typically a problem on the earlier machines. I haven't seen that happen in a long time, but on the earlier SLVR5, for example, and the SLV750. Well, so what was the R5? The 757 and the 555, the regular VHS machines. That was more of an issue on those than it is on these ones. I'm just trying to recover a bunch of files right now from a 32 gig Lexar USB stick. It's got about 30 gigs of video files on it. And the USB drive just keeps disconnecting itself. So I'm trying to do a recovery on that. I don't know how successful I'm going to be. Well, I'm getting them like one file at a time. But this USB stick is not that old, and I've tried it on two computers, and when I try to drag files from one to another, it just keeps disconnecting. So I don't know what the hell's going on with it, but hopefully I can recover these files, because it was a job that I did for someone a while back, and their USB stick is now failing. And they did not back it up. This is the second person that's done this. I tell people, get a DVD backup. I don't care if you don't have a DVD player anymore. You can pick a DVD player up dirt cheap. Back your stuff up onto a disc. No, I don't need a disc. Nobody uses discs anymore. Well, they backed everything up onto a 32 gig USB stick, brand new one that they supplied, USB 3, Lexar, and it has now become my problem to try to recover the files that they are unable to play. They put it in the smart TV and it'll play for a while, and then it just stops, and it says drive unusable. And I plug it in to my computer, and I can see all the files, and I can play them, and I'm trying to copy them. And some copy over fine, and other files that are like 2 or 3 or 4 gigs in size get about halfway through it, and then it just stops, and the drive just disappears from the computer. I got to unplug it and plug it back in. I've been working on this for the last, well, since longer than I've been working on this machine. I started on it before starting on this machine, and I'm running into issues. And now I've got it on my laptop, thinking maybe my desktop was having a compatibility problem, but my laptop's doing exactly the same thing, which is the same problem the customer had, and it was a brand new memory stick. Fortunately, I didn't sell them the memory stick. They brought me a brand new one in a package. So I'm almost at the point saying, not my problem, but it's become my problem. When I say Lexar, oops, verbatim. This is the problem one. It's the 32 gig USB 3.1, and I'm trying to get files off of it, and it just disconnects. It'll be in the drive, in the computer copying, and all of a sudden Windows goes dee dee, and the drive just disappears. Problematic drive. Alright, this is almost ready to test. I gotta plug the front panel in as well. But we stamp the front panel on, and then this is ready to test, and fingers crossed everything's gonna work. You never know when you're dealing with something that somebody else has had their fingers into. You never know what you're gonna find, right? So that part works. Well, I think my recording might be at the end. Let's just rewind it. Oh, it ejected when I put it into rewind. Why did it not want to go into rewind? Please put in a cassette. There's a cassette in it. Okay, there's something going on with this control. This control has got a problem. We'll just try the high-speed rewind button and see whether that works. When I turn the dial to the rewind position, it ejects the tape, like I'm pushing the eject button. So that could be just the encoder switch is getting bad, it's getting dirty on it. I hit the high-speed rewind button and it's now rewinding. Of course, it won't high-speed rewind because this is a short tape, so it won't unlace the tape to rewind. But at least rewind this tape back and see whether I got a picture.
Try and guess.
Hello, it works.
PC connector. Patch one end into your PC. And the same for the audio connector. And the other ends into the front of the display. And that's it. Done. You're finished. Simply turn on your PC control panel.
I can do this with my TV, with this plasma. It's got a VGA connector on the front.
Display, and switch to the PC input, and you're ready to roll. Just think of the possibilities, whether it's in the home, the office, or the classroom. Any computer or multimedia application, including business presentations.
Yeah, right. Only if it's in 640 by 480 though. Remember that part, right? Of course, this was ancient technology back then. Well, at least that part works. How about fast forward? Fast forward works. How about try rewind again and see if it'll kick the tape out? Okay, now it looks like it might work. Okay, that part works. That's good. Eject. We'll take the tape out. I'm going to clean the heads on this machine because, as you saw how grimy it was, but mechanically this machine is working properly now, which is good. Get a piece of paper with some isopropyl alcohol and we'll clean the heads. Clean the audio head, the tape guides, and the erase head. Yeah, that was pretty dirty. All right, we'll grab another tape that I can let play on this thing, and we'll let it run for a while and make sure everything's good. My test tape. I'll also play some Super VHS in here as well. Why do I not have a picture? Oh, what happened here? Tape didn't thread correctly. What is going on? Check that out. Let's eject the tape and see what happened. That tape did not thread correctly. Might have been because the alcohol had not completely dried, but it certainly got hung up on something. I'll try it again. That looks a little better. Okay, now it plays. Complete with all the creases I just put in my tape. But this is my little scenery tape that I did down when I was down on the California coast. I can show this one all day and not have to worry about any copyright. Let this one play for a while, make sure this machine's working, and I'll go through all the other features on it. I'll go through all the modes, make sure that it rewinds and fast forwards and so forth properly, and then I'll try some Super VHS tapes in it. So, that's noisy. This mode encoder switch is acting up. It thinks I hit eject. Fast forward. I wonder what's making so much noise there when it's in forward search. It sounds like a dry bearing is what it sounds like. Reverse search. It's mold encoder needs something to be desired. Also, look at the rubber on this. It's that gummy rubber that's starting to, they coated this with that shit. When I go to fast forward or rewind, it thinks I'm pushing the eject button because this mode encoder switch is going bad. Now it's going to go into rewind. Play, that's okay. But when I hit forward search, reverse search, reverse search is a little bit noisy, but the forward search, that's going to be the gears. I bet you there's a dry bearing on there. We'll just try high-speed rewind and see that it will unlace and go into full-speed rewind. So that's going to be probably the gears under here. So let me see if I can get at them and just try to clear that up, stop that squeaking when I go into forward search. I'm thinking it's probably these gears down here are noisy. More than likely, that's the one, because it seems to do it when it's in the reduced torque mode for forward search, but when it goes into full torque mode for fast forward, it's quiet. So I'll pull the front panel off again to remove the mechanism. At this point, I don't know what gear is noisy, but I'm assuming it's on the one of these plastic gears up top here. I don't want to pull the whole mechanism all apart again, though. So it's more than likely on this. So we'll remove that cover, and we'll just take a listen to these gears here. Could be this one, could be the pendulum here, or the clutch. Could be any of these gears that are getting a bit loud. I'll put a bit of oil down here onto this bearing. That'll lube this one and the gear down below. Yeah, listen, it's the hubs are getting a bit noisy, but we'll try that again. There's not a heck of a lot I can do to quieten that down, as when you get plastic parts that start to wear out, they sometimes get a bit noisy, and there's not a lot that one can do to quiet them down other than change them. And well, you know how it is with plastic parts. You know, original plastic parts are getting hard to find. But if it doesn't affect the operation of it, if it's just a bit noisy when you're in search, then you generally live with it. Oh, you know what? It might be the Capstan motor might be making that noise. Well, let's just pull that apart. That bearing on that Capstan might be. Whoops! When I put this on, I didn't put it on correct. The door is sticking, so I gotta open the door up manually. I may have to pull this mechanism again and check that Capstan bearing. Here's the noise here. That bearing is getting kind of noisy. I don't know if I can quieten that down. I'll try lubricating it and put some oil into the bearing, but I don't know. It's getting kind of loud. We'll see if we can quieten it down a bit. Now, one of the things that kills these bearings, besides the fact that the earlier one's bent, is people that get in there with too much alcohol for cleaning. So I'm going to put a bit of oil into the top side of the bearing to get it into that top bearing cap, and we'll put some into the bottom one as well down here. Get some oil into that sintered bearing. And put the rotor back in place. Put the little plastic clips back in that are used to keep the oil where it belongs. Got to get one on the bottom first, and then on the top. I'll pull the pinch roller out just to make it easier to get to it. I do that just so that it doesn't, the timing doesn't change. Put the cover back on here. Okay, gotta get the bearing caps back in place again. I did find the second one, by the way. It was inside the machine. After applying a little bit of oil to the bearing caps, nice and quiet. Okay, so now we'll try this again. We'll put this back together, and hopefully that fast forward isn't going to make a bunch of racket this time. I'm assuming it was just a dry bearing that was causing it. The guy that called about a stereo, he's called a second time. Says his surround sound, when he hears, when a car goes from the front to the back, it's not going from the front to the back. Well, I think a lot of that has to do with how they've encoded it. And whether the program he's watching is actually in surround. I'm sure he will phone a third time before I get this machine back together. I've only been working on this now for a little over an hour, I guess. But I'm sure I'll get another call. And now I'm starting to understand why the last guy he was dealing with gave him my number. Told him to call me. We used to have a term for that. Actually, I still have a term for that. For those type of customers, we call it surgery. Removing the customer's head from their ass. We had a guy that worked at the shop. This is going back 20 plus years when I worked at the TV shop. But he would go out and deal with customers and deal with them with this type of stuff, with nonsense calls like their amplifier was in the wrong mode and they couldn't understand the manual because the Japanese to English translation of the day 20 odd years ago was not very good, and they couldn't understand what to do, so they'd call up the shop, and the poor delivery guy would go out there and have to deal with it. I never had to deal with it. Thank God. I don't have the patience for people that just can't get it. Yesterday at work, I'm doing a security system install. And you gotta load an app onto your phone to look at your cameras and control your security system. So, customer gets an email when I activate their account. The problem is they gave us their old email account, which is no longer valid. So I told them I gotta create a new Gmail account so they can get it registered. Of course, they've got a Gmail account on their Android phone, but they've never used it, and they don't know the password. So I told them to do a password reset. So they do a password reset, and of course it's asking them questions that they initially put in, but they don't remember. And then they're asking me to do it for them. I said, well, I can't, because I don't know your password, so I can't reset it for you. If you're wondering how I zeroed in on the Capstan causing that, it's I put my finger on here when I was rewinding or fast forwarding. And I felt it. I felt the vibration from it. That's how I knew it was coming from here. Alright, let's try a tape on here. Try one of my garbage tapes first. And go into play.
Now imagine the advantages.
It's a lot better than it was. I think that's just the spindles that are squeaking a bit there. Reverse search.
Cheers.
Yeah. I think it might be that one there when it's freewheeling in forward. Yeah, that's what it is. Alright, that seems to be okay. I'm not too worried about that. Let's try and might help if I push the right button. Hit the power button instead. I want to just play some other tapes on here. Make sure it's not going to damage any tapes. And we'll test this out. Something else I do need to address is the little spring here is not making a good contact with the drum. So I'll remove that and just put some bend back into it because somebody's bent it. Put a little spring in there so that it will at least discharge the head drum, which is what it's supposed to do. It is there to discharge any static electricity that builds up on it. There. So it's got a spring on there. Sometimes people bend that because it squeaks. Rather than get to the root cause and put a little bit of lubricant on there, they just bend the spring out of the way. Okay, this is playing. I'm going to let this play for a while, and then we'll put Super VHS tape in it and make sure that it's working with that as well. You know, while I'm at it, here's that store and go verbatim that I was having trouble trying to get stuff off of it. It's even in my smart TV, it's taking its time. This was recorded, looks like 2020 was when this was done, so it was recorded. It was like, it wasn't recent. It was like 3 years ago I did this. I can't play these videos because it's a client's personal collection, but I finally got them copied to another USB stick after spending a number of hours working on it, having to restart and restart. I don't know if the files are corrupted or not. I just wanted to plug it into the TV and see what happened, and it took forever to read it. But I'm going to play it and make sure that this is the original. I just want to see if it fails on the TV like it did on the computer. But I can't show you guys this, obviously, but yeah, that was a fun one. Back to this one though, I'm going to put a Super VHS tape in. This is the movie recorded in the EP speed, so I can't let it play on the channel, but we'll see whether it tracks up okay. In EP for Super VHS, which it appears that it is. This was recorded off of a laser disc, including the FBI warning. And this is probably all I can show. Is I might get hit for even showing the Warner Home Video logo. We'll see. If it gets hit, I'll have them mute it. But I won't show the movie itself, but it's playing. I'll leave it at that, because I don't know how Warner Brothers are going to be on that, but I know that Fox, I showed a Fox logo once and they took my fucking video down. Excuse my French. But they took my video down for showing the Fox Home Video logo, if you can believe it. I have a word that describes them. And this is one of my tapes. I can play this. I can't play the music, but I can play a little bit of this. This is just my aquarium video that I did many years ago in SP speed. It's playing no problem. So this machine is fixed. Could play this tape back too, a recording of my aquarium. I hope I ever showed you guys what camera I recorded this. I'll show you the camera that I recorded this with. It will surprise you what this was done with. So this recording was made with this little camera. That's all that's on that tape. I'm going to use this for a test recording, so I'll just stop this. But yeah, this camera is what I made the recording of the aquarium with. This one is a sleeper in the world of the point and shoots that Sony had, and I've had this camera for a long time. I got it, I think, for my 47th birthday. It's a DSC TX100. It's the model number. I've already had to repair the door here because it broke. It records to an SD card or a memory stick. You can put a memory stick in one way and you can put an SD card in the other. The only downside to this is the battery capacity doesn't last that long. You have to recharge it. Use one of these small batteries. But this was a great little camera. I love this camera. I still use this one, right? It's because it's so small. 16.2 megapixels. It has a Carl Zeiss lens. Look at the lens on this thing. It says it's only got like I think it's a 4 times. Yeah, 4 times optical zoom. But look at the lens. I'll zoom it. Where's the zoom on here? Zoom in and zoom out. Is it on? Yeah, it's on. Zoom out. You can see the little lens element moving inside. See it? Zoom in. Zoom out. Isn't that cute? So the lens itself is like a periscope. So the sensor is not right behind here. The sensor is actually down under here. There's a mirror in the back of that lens apparently, and it's got the steady shot. It's got optical steady shot on it, and a 4 times zoom, and you can see it zooming there. It has a real flash and a pre-flash. So this will light up here. It flashes like a bright orange light into your face before the flash fires. That's to constrict your pupils so you get red eye reduction, and it actually does a really good job. I mean, I'm really impressed, and then that covers it up. I've had this thing since it was new. It's got a OLED screen on the back, touch screen. As you can see, it's been through a lot. I did a lot of shooting with this. I still take pictures with this camera, believe it or not, because it has a great picture, and it will do movie mode, right? Just tap the screen and it will start recording, right? But and then if I zoom this other camera out a bit, in fact, the first, it's recording now. Here, stop. I just recorded that. It will focus like unbelievably close. Stop. There we go. It will focus unbelievably close, like really close, like that. You see? If I get in on really close up on something, this thing will focus right down almost to the lens. It is just, I just tap the screen where I want it to focus, and it will focus there. It is incredible, this little camera. I mean, it wasn't cheap. I don't think my wife bought this for me for my birthday, but and it wasn't a cheap camera. But really, it was. There's 4 times lens. It will do, if I go to the menu, and the battery's almost dead here, but if I go into menu here, it can do for movies. Gotta remember how to do this. Face detection, movie quality, there we go. So I can select, here you go, see, AVC HD 28 megabits, AVC HD 24, AVC HD 17, and AVC HD 9 megabits. So I've got it in the highest quality mode right there, and that shoots. See, it says movie shot in PS mode cannot be saved to Blu-ray and DVD disc because it's 60p quality. So it shoots in as 60 frames progressive. So the picture quality that this will shoot for video is as good as the camera I'm recording this on in HD mode. The camera I'm recording this on is a 4K camera, but I run it in HD. I did a bunch of videos on this, some of my early videos. The one I fixed that power supply, my very first one I did, I shot with this camera. I had the camera right in there and I was filming it with this. Quality-wise, it is excellent. And I did the aquarium video. I put this on a tripod and I shot the fish on this camera because when I shot the fish, the only other camera I had at the time, I had my FX1, but that's a 1080i camera and it shoots at only 1440 by 1080 onto tape. And I had my other little Sony Handycam that would do, I think it didn't do, no I didn't. I had a JVC piece of junk. I hadn't bought my first Sony. My first Sony Handycam HD camera was a CX220 and I did some videos on that. But before I had the CX220 I had this and I used this one. And as you can see the touchscreen's all marked up. It works, but I've had this camera a long time. I used to carry it in my pocket and just keep it with me, and that's why the screen is like this, because it would be in a pocket with coins and stuff, right? But I used to carry this thing everywhere I went with me, and that was back in the days when my cell phone only had like I think it only had a 3 megapixel sensor on it back in the day when I got this, because I've had this thing for
about 12 years.
But still goes, still works. Stereo sound, AVC HD, and the quality is excellent. And it's been, well, never had any trouble. Still, the battery still charges up. The only thing I don't like about it is it's proprietary. So you can't just plug it into any old USB. You need the cable with this. And if you lose the cable, then you're kind of hooped. But other than that, and I did that aquarium, I did the video of my aquarium with this camera. And you wouldn't know unless I told you what it was done with. You can see the outline of the OLED screen in behind here, right? The OLED screen only covers to this area here. But it's neat. It's neat with that OLED screen. You see exactly what you're going to get. So I'm going to make a test recording. I've got my DVD player plugged in. We'll hit record on here and record this in standard mode. I'll start the DVD player up. There it goes. So I'm just going to record this for a few minutes and make sure that everything's recording, which I'm pretty confident that it is. If it plays, it should record. In theory, anyway, right? Unless something is wrong with the record amplifier. I can see both audio meters are going. So that should be plenty, I think. Going to play. And there it is. So another one fixed. A little bit more work than I first anticipated, because you never know what you're going to get into when someone else has tried to fix it. They always got to try to figure out what they've done. I've had a few problems. A timing problem was the biggest one, but also that bearing cap that was falling apart, and the bearing itself was noisy. Those plastic washers also have to go back in. They're part of the bearing itself, so if you don't put those in, you'll end up with problems. They're there to keep the oil in the bearing, and they're also there to keep alcohol and stuff out when you're cleaning it. But I had to put a little bit of oil into both bearing caps, and that quietened it down quite a bit. So hopefully this one will be good for a while. But right now everything seems to be working. The only thing that kind of concerns me is this switch. Sometimes when you flick it, it goes and ejects the tape. It's just the contacts in here are getting a bit dirty from lack of use, but moving this thing back and forth should clear that up, I would think. Sometimes when you flick it to forward like this, it triggers an eject because the resistance of it is the same. This just uses a a resistance ladder, and sometimes it triggers it. Power cord fell out when I moved it. That's what happens. Once in a while, if you turn this, it would send the signal to eject because the contacts inside the switch, the encoder switch, are starting to go a bit bad, but seems to be working okay now. Again, it's got that tacky rubber on there. Crap. I guess mine will be doing the same thing. I've got a SVO1000, which is essentially the same machine, but another big circuit board over here that was used for time code, because the SVO1000, it had a time code reader, I believe. A time code generator would read VIT's vertical interval time code and send it off to a controller. So it had this other big board over here that was used for interfacing. Other than that, the machines themselves, I think, are pretty close in terms of the actual operation. Anyway, this one's done. The guy that owns this is going to be happy. See, it came up from Cincinnati, and because he put it in a second box, he double boxed it. It cost him $191.90 US just to ship this thing to me. It'll probably cost pretty close to that to ship it back in this second box. He's put a box within a box, and when you start getting into large packages like this, the freight gets just ridiculously expensive. Anyway, it's a nice deck. It's in good shape now. It should last for several more years, hopefully, and we'll go on working to transfer over his tapes, and I'm sure when he's done with it and he sells it, he will get his money's worth out of it, because these machines in working condition go for a few dollars. I don't know why they go for as much as they do. I bought one for $25. The one that I've got, I paid 25 bucks for. But apparently they go for lots of money, being Super VHS. And other than the blue gear problem that he's had, and the capstan bearing going like it did on this, the top cover of it, crimps that they put on the top fail. Other than that, these machines were actually pretty good, reliable machines over the years. And everyone who's got one likes it because the quality of the picture is very good. And say, other than the few quirks that all these mechanisms have, the blue gear being one of them, the mode switch being another, the capstan bearing being the third. Other than that, these machines were actually pretty good and pretty reliable. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.